Hi everybody, I'm Aryan Rasolipour. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are diving into the fascinating world of realism, a literary movement that emerged in mid-19th century and forever changed the landscape of literature. Realism sought to depict everyday life in literature and also with a level of accuracy and in detail elaboration that had never been seen before. In this video, we will exploring the origins of the realism and its key characteristics and some of the most influential authors in the realism movement and works that define this groundbreaking movement. So let's sit back and bring a cup of coffee or tea and also join us on this literary journey to uncover the essence of realism and uncover also its lasting impact on the world literature and world of the literature and history of literature around the world. Okay, as a historical background, realism emerged as a movement in mid-19th century and primarily it was in France. It was a reaction in France against the romanticism that was dominated on that period's literature atmosphere. This movement sought to depict everyday's life and society with level of accuracy, and also let me talk about some of the key figures and aspects of this movement. Firstly, I should mention origins and influences. Realism began in France, as I mentioned before, in around approximately 1850s decade. It's influenced by social and political and other social movement upheaval of that period of time, especially the revolution of 1848 in France. The movement aimed to portray the lives of the ordinary people and also the realities of their everyday lives and society. And moreover, their everyday experiences often focuses on middle classes and most important of them lower classes in this society. The rise of scientific thinking and influences of philosophers like Descartes and Locke, John Locke as an English philosopher, played a significant role in shaping the realism. This movement emphasized on the empirical observation of the representation of reality and in its without establishment or idealizations. The realist literature is considered and known for its focus on everyday activities and also its detailed descriptions and its emphasis on character over plot. It often addresses the social issues and also provide a truthful depiction of life. There are some of the most important and prominent writers and works that associated with realism are included like Gustave Flaubert, Balzac, and also Charles Dickens and Eliot in England. And from the American writers I can mention Henry James and also Mark Twain. So Gustave Flaubert and Balzac in France, Eliot and Charles Dickens in England, and Henry James and Mark Twain in United States of America. They are the most notable writers in realism across the globe. And besides them, we can mention Tolstoy and Fyodor Dostoevsky and also Émile Zola in France. Realism had a profound impact on literature until nowadays, even though it paving the way for later movements such as naturalism and also modernism. It also aimed to provide a very suitable atmosphere to developing some other genres of works like theater and in future cinema. There are so many realistic works that converted to films by so many filmmakers in the later periods. For example, some of the works of Charles Dickens and some others realist writers like Tolstoy and Fyodor Dostoevsky several times turned to films by some filmmakers and directors. Okay, let me talk about some of the notable writers in realist period as a realist writers. Gustave Flaubert, known for his Madame Bovary, his famous masterpieces, and also he is credited with the perfecting realist novels in France and history of French literature. On the other hand, Balzac is known for his extensive series and novels and stories. Series, that means series novels, not series as serial in nowadays televisions and filmmaking's industry. His most important work is La Comédie Humaine, or human comedy. It's a French term that provides a detailed and vivid portrayal of French society in the mid-19th century and early 19th century's atmosphere in France. Now it's time to talk about in gist and abridgedly about Leo Tolstoy. He is a famous and well-known Russian novelist and author. He is known for his profound and deep masterpieces that mostly were epic and realistic works like War and Peace and Anna Karenina, which explores the complexities of Russian society on that time. And the other Russian novelist and writer is Fyodor Dostoevsky. The Fyodor Dostoevsky works like White Nights, Brother Karamazov, and Gambler, and also Crime and Punishment, his masterpieces, delve deeply into the human psyche and psychology and social issues. Let's go back to England by Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens was an English writer whose novel was Great Expectation, Oliver Twist, David Copperfield, and so on, often highlight the struggles of poor class society and critique social injustice in England on that periods of time. And about George Eliot, her novels like Middlemarch and also The Mile on the Floss were so celebrated for their detailed and elaborative characteristics and social observations. About Henry James, he was an American British known for his novels of The Portrait of a Lady and The Ambassador, which explores the interaction between Europeans and Americans' relationships on that ages. Émile Zola was a French writer who is known mostly because of the leading figures of the naturalist movement in France that established by him essentially, which is often considered as offshoot of realism, the naturalist movement. Realism literature is known for its detailed and unembellished portrayal of everyday and daily lives. The key themes of this movement was ordinary life, as I mentioned too many times before, social issues and ethnical dilemmas, and also human psychology. Why social issues? Realist works frequently address social problems and injustice, as I mentioned in Charles Dickens' work, if you have remember, and you should notice that these works such as poverty depicts some themes like poverty, class disparity, and struggles of working classes. And about ethnical dilemmas, in this such a works, characters often face to so many moral and ethical complexities that hard to gain decisions. The truth is the decision is too tough and hard. And also realism delves into the inner lives of characters as a psyche and ego, exploring their thoughts, emotions, and motivation in their lives and in the depths as profoundly psychology. Realist literature is known for its meticulous attention to detail, providing comprehensive and accurate depiction of setting and also characters and events. Other main characteristics and themes and figures of this literary movement is the focuses on characters' development rather than elaborate plots. In this genre, characters are mostly complex but realistic behaviors and manners and motivations. Dialogues in realistic literature reflects the natural speech using the vernacular and colloquial and everyday language rather than poetic and highlighting dictation and dictions. Realistic works often deploys and employs an objective and impartial narrative styles for the presentation events and characters without overt authorial judgment. In the realistic works, there is a strong emphasis on the influences of social and economic class on the individual and interactions. The language and tone of realist literature are often distinct and purposefully aiming to reflect the nature of everyday life, and it's in aim and help of the main goal of this movement, that's depicting and illustrating the main everyday life of the characters as complex as possible in behavior but as real as believable could be. And the realist writers use dialogues that mirror how people actually speak, including regional dialects. This could help to accurately create authentic and relatable and reliable characters in most realist works. In the other word, the language is straightforward and avoiding the elaborate and poetic diction and figures and speech and figures of literary terms to found in the romantic literature. It's avoided at all in this. It's avoided at all in the romantic realistic movement. Realistic literature and realist literature often adopt a serious tone, focusing on the gravity of the social issues and complexities. And other key important term in the element of the tone of the realistic works are sympathetic and sympathy in their works. While realist writers may show empathy for the characters, they avoid sensationalism and emotionally and melodrama. They avoided melodrama and striving instead of balance and a truthful depiction. Therefore, we should throw away the sentimentalism in the realistic works. There is no place for sentimentalism and emotionally drill in the realistic works. Realism shifted the focus of literature from grand romantic and landscape to ordinary everyday setting and experiences. This change allowed for a more relatable and truthful portrayal of life, and it's one of the first literary impacts and lasting impact of this movement to nowadays literature and contemporary literature. Realist writers brought attention to the pressing social problems and also criticizing these problems in society, and such as these problems were such as poverty, inequality, and injustice. This focus on social critique and has continued to the influences literature, encouraging writers to address the contemporary issues. Realism and realistic works emphasizes on the psychological depth and introduce more portrayal of human as complex as possible and behavior and characters, and it shows the moral ambiguity has become a staple in modern literature. As I mentioned before, if you remember again, the principle of realism have extended beyond the literature, influenced visual arts, theater, and cinema. Realist techniques in painting, for example, emphasize the accurate discipline and the depiction of everyday life, while realist theater were alive and films strive for the authenticity in dialogue and setting. The themes and techniques of realism continues and spontaneously resonating with the readers and writers until today. And in contemporary literature often employs realist elements to explore the complexities of modern life and society. Its other and lasting impact of the realism movement as a heritage. It was, in the other words, it was a foundation of modern literature, influenced on the novel, because in that period of time the rise of novel as a popular literary form was significantly and remarkably blossomed by realism. Realist novels with their focus on everyday life and relatable and reliable characters helped to establish the novel a dominant literary genre. And also realism has given rise to various and different subgenres, including naturalism, social realism, and psychological realism, and surrealism also. These subgenres continues to explore and expand the open principle of realism. Okay, that's it. Thank you for attending on my YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to every time I upload a new and updated video. YouTube will inform you by notification. Till the next time, farewell, goodbye, keep reading, keep studying, and keep health and safe. Farewell, goodbye, until the next time.